Coming up, we explore the buzz behind CBD oil and the beauty treatment known as microneedling. Plus, we hear expert advice on how to persevere personally and financially during the pandemic. Then we head into the kitchen with Food Network star Emily Ellyn and skate down memory lane. All this and more to help you live GenXtra. Hello everyone and welcome to GenXtra, the lifestyle show for Generation X. I'm Karen LeBlanc, a card-carrying member of Generation X. I was born in the 70s, came of age in the 80s, and started my professional career in the 90s. And as the voice of Generation X, I'm bringing you the latest news, tips, trends, memories, musings, and lifestyle advice to help you live your best life. Are you ready? Let's get started. There's a lot of hype about the health and wellness benefits of CBD products. So to separate fact from fiction, I'm visiting the labs of Sunshine Global Health. They're an industry leader in the processing and manufacturing of CBD products. In fact, they're setting the industry standard. And we're going to talk about everything the consumer needs to know about purchasing CBD products and its therapeutic benefits.
You know, CBD is not created, it's not all created equal. There's a lot of differences, a lot of different kinds of products that have come to the market. I would say probably a lot of the products, especially in the early stages, are the CBD isolates, where they just isolated one individual molecule, CBD, because there are hundreds of cannabinoids, and they just isolated one. Now, there's a lot of benefit to that one molecule, but the fact is you're losing a lot of the benefit that would come if you had all of the different components that are in the plant. It's called the entourage effect, where the entourage of all the ingredients coming together give you a much better outcome for what you're looking to achieve with the product.
There's 123 cannabinoids in a hemp product, and CBD is one of the strongest, along with THC. Of course, the law makes it to where we have to take and remove the THC out because it's a psychogenic drug type situation. And so we take it out. And for a while, everybody concentrated and focused on the strength of the CBD. Now we found that there's other cannabinoids that have equal opportunities and strengths to help in different ailments and diseases that people have.
You should be looking for a full or a good quality broad spectrum. The full spectrum simply means in the extraction, everything is there. And hemp has a very, very low THC content anyway. There are other processes that can reduce that down even more, but the full spectrum is going to give you more benefit than something like an isolate. Broad spectrum as well, because it's got all the other components except it doesn't have the THC. So you need to know what you're looking at when you see a product. You need to know that it's been tested at a reliable laboratory.
Through testing, we found that unless you get 250 milligrams of CBD every time you dose it, it's like drinking water, or it doesn't have that much of an effect.
The product is best absorbed under the tongue, as opposed to ingesting it. I mean, it's still going to get some absorption if you swallow it, but it's only going to be around 10%. It's the system that's in our body that it's interacting with. It's called the endocannabinoid system. It was only discovered just a few years ago, but it's basically the master regulator of the body. There are naturally occurring cannabinoids that your body makes. They're called endocannabinoids. They interact with this system of receptors all over your nervous system, all over every part of your body. And it basically just tweaks different things. It might tweak hormones, it might tweak neurotransmitters, it might do this, it might do that, to bring things back into balance. I think it's going to be a mainstream product that the evidence is overwhelming that it's beneficial. It's not a cure-all, but it can help the body do a better job of what it would naturally do if it had the resources to do so.
If you want to learn more about the therapeutic benefits of CBD products and Sunshine Global Health's proprietary line, check out the website below. From feeling good to looking fashionable, I'm wearing a necklace that does both. This is from the jewelry designers at Lee Renee, who harness the mystical energies of crystals and gemstones into a modern jewelry collection that amplifies your thoughts and intentions. I'm wearing the triple stone selenite, thought to bring about clarity. Now you're getting a first look at this brand new jewelry line. So if you want to learn more, check out the website below. I've been hearing a lot of beauty buzz about the benefits of microneedling. It's a procedure that aims to stimulate collagen and improve elasticity in the neck and the face. So I wanted to learn more about it. I'm visiting Melissa Piasek. She's a licensed esthetician and owner of MP Aesthetics. She's going to explain what microneedling is to us, and then I am going to experience my first treatment with Melissa. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So happy that you guys are here today.
So what is microneedling and how does it work?
So microneedling, also known as collagen induction therapy, is a controlled injury to the skin. And microneedling works the same way as lasers do, except when I'm injuring the skin, I'm doing it mechanically instead of using heat and light. And that means there's less downtime, less chance of complication, and it's more affordable for the client.
So how does the procedure work? I'm going to undergo it. What are you going to actually be doing to my skin?
So I'm going to be using a doctor's pen. I'm going to be using microscopic needles, and I'm going to be creating micro channels within the skin. So something similar to like if you're aerating the grass or something like that. It allows for deeper product penetration, stimulating that collagen and elastin over time, brightens the skin, helps a lot with acne scarring, and helps a lot with clients who have lost weight, especially in the neck area and then the lower jowl area. Does some lifting, and overall, just a wonderful new technology and treatment.
I cannot wait to undergo my first microneedling, so we're going to head back to your treatment room and we'll let the magic begin. So Melissa just cleaned my face and applied a layer of lidocaine to it to numb it so that I'm comfortable for the microneedling procedure, and we're ready to go.
So now we're going to apply the hyaluronic acid on your forehead. And what this is going to do, it's going to allow the needles to pass over the skin smoothly.
And this also has a plumping effect, right? The hyaluronic acid.
Oh yes, plumping, smoothing, brightening, everything. So we're going to start on your forehead. The most tender part of the procedure is the forehead, so you always want to numb for at least 15-20 minutes. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for that erythema, so you want to see that nice bright pink, and you want to see a little pinpoint bleeding. And this means I'm really stimulating that collagen and elastin and creating that micro injury to the skin, which is the whole purpose in microneedling.
It's not painful. It's a little, there's a mild discomfort, but it's not painful. I know when people think needles, you know, they cringe, but it doesn't feel like needles. It feels sort of like just a scrubbing almost.
Yes, and this really helps too with, you know, lines around the eye area.
Oh, that's my problem.
Yep, lines around the lip area, things like that.
Yeah, the lips and the fine lines around the eyes, I'm really starting to notice. So I just finished my microneedling procedure, and you can see my face is a little pink and there might be a few needle markings that are obvious, but overall the procedure was mildly uncomfortable, not painful. Now Melissa says in 4 to 5 weeks I'm going to see the full effects, that improved elasticity and collagen in my face and neck, and I'll be back again in another 5 to 6 weeks for a follow-up procedure of microneedling. Now if you want to be beautiful all GenXtra, I encourage you to check out the website below to learn more about microneedling and other aesthetic services so that you too can get your glow on. I'm in the kitchen with Chef Emily Ellyn, also known as the Retro Rad Chef and a frequent reality star on the Food Network. And today we are going to make and break bread. Emily, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming and joining me. This is going to be fun.
I know.
Okay, you ready to roll up your sleeves?
I am. My
Okay.
butterfly sleeves are sufficiently rolled up. Let's do it. So what is the name of the bread that we're making?
This is actually a ricotta orange poppy seed bread.
Get me started. What's the first thing I need to do?
All right, so about 4 cups of flour. Now, don't stress about the recipe. Like I said, it is easy.
Okay, I can measure 4 cups of flour and dump it in a bowl. So far, I'm good.
Perfect.
Okay.
And the recipe's online.
Okay.
So we will have links to it.
Okay.
And then a teaspoon of salt.
Okay.
This is basically for flavoring.
Okay.
And we're not doing anything too crazy special here.
Because everyone during the self-quarantine seemed to find comfort in baking bread, right?
Or anything sugary and bready and delicious and confection. 2 teaspoons, or the packet has 2 teaspoons-ish. So I put the whole packet in. So I'm gonna have you whisk that together.
Oh, this cute little whisks.
I know, and it matches your outfit.
This
That's
is
what I planned.
So see, I can do this.
And then I'm gonna put sugar, and I'm gonna start feeding it, okay?
Okay.
So you can keep doing your cute little whisking.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And then we're just gonna pour it in.
Okay.
Get all the yeast in it because that's what's gonna make it rise.
Right.
So I have 5 tablespoons of room temperature butter.
Butter.
And I start adding it in a tablespoon at a time.
Okay.
But you see how it's like shiny?
Yeah, I
It's like
do.
really pretty.
Yeah.
And so this is like perfect.
Perfect.
So we're gonna feed it one more time, if you can believe. These little yeast are like demanding fellas.
They are.
So you can do any kind of
Okay.
butter, oil, but I think the spray oil is just like super easy. So you cover it.
That's a
You're
great
gonna put it right here. You're gonna
Okay.
set it and forget it. You're
Okay.
gonna go like check social media. 2 hours later, you're gonna come back and it's gonna be like, watch this.
Okay. Oh wow.
Look at that, it grew. It
Yes.
like doubled in size.
Wow.
Right? And you can start kind of stretching it.
Okay.
Like a pizza pie, you
Yeah,
know, like
okay, I
you don't
can
have
do
to
it.
throw it up in the air, but
I don't.
mean, unless you're like all of a sudden channeling some Julia Child moment, right? So at this point, just work it around like
Okay.
this.
So I think the last time I actually rolled out dough was in my mama's kitchen.
Oh.
She used to make these amazing biscuits from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. And
No,
she
she's
had-
from the South.
Oh yeah, Melville, Louisiana. It doesn't get more southern than
it
Melville,
doesn't.
Louisiana.
Did she use fat, lard?
She used
oil?
Crisco in the
Uh-huh,
can,
yep.
the lard.
So ricotta, orange,
Ricotta, orange marmalade.
some poppy seeds. So you have poppy seeds are not just for like cuteness factor. They're actually like, they give this nutty, richer flavor. And then you're going to,
One more.
with the back of the spatula, just kind of pull it to the edge, leaving about an inch around.
Okay. Actually find baking very, very soothing. It's therapeutic for me. And there's something very nostalgic, right, about it because the smells and the sensory experience.
Now, I'm gonna cut down the center of
Okay.
it like that, leaving a little piece.
Okay.
And we're just basically doing a twist braid. Now your oven is set to 350.
Okay.
Let it relax for another 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay.
And then stick it in the oven and it'll be done in 30 minutes. I took powdered sugar and bourbon and a little bit of just some orange zest, and I whisked it together till it's this consistency.
Yeah, I think after we carb load, our next segment needs to be all about keto.
Okay.
So you need to trot out a keto recipe
Okay.
to help us get rid of the COVID-15.
I love it, okay?
Coming off of all that self-quarantine and breaking and making bread.
I love it.
Emily, thank you so much for inviting us into your kitchen to share one of your favorite recipes and to teach us how to cook GenXtra. Joining me now is certified financial planner Ellyn to share with us some investment tips and how to navigate the aftermath of COVID-19 in the financial world. Ellyn, what do you want Gen Xers to know right now with the state of their financial retirement? A lot of people are concerned about their financial future coming off of COVID.
It's been crazy. It's been a very trying time. First thing is to take a step back, take a deep breath. Making emotional decisions is never the right decision. I think most folks would be quite surprised right now if they took a look at their portfolios that they might be down less than 10% for the year. Around February 19th, we were at all-time highs. And within 2 weeks, we turned into a bear market. So we pulled back greater than 20%. And at its low, the market was down around 30%. Since then, we've had over a 20% bounce off the bottom. So now, by definition, we might be in a bull market. So it's been the fastest bear to bull also in history.
So that really does give us some perspective so Gen Xers can kind of take a deep breath. But do they need to change their investment strategy based on what's just happened with the markets?
You know, it's a good time to use a crisis to kind of reflect upon the decisions you've made. If you've built up debt prior to this, during a good economy, it's probably a good idea to start focusing on that debt. The worst mistakes people can do is look at the markets pulling back and deciding, I'm not going to invest anymore. I'm going to reduce my 401k contributions. The opposite is what they really should do. They should be increasing their contributions because every month they're dollar cost averaging. There's enough time still for most Gen Xers before retirement that they're going to be fine. If they take a look at their plan currently, they'd probably be pretty surprised to know that it really hasn't veered off of the success probability then from 6 months ago.
Should Gen Xers look at making changes to their current investment strategies?
I think they should probably evaluate their risk tolerance, first of all. Facing a crisis that we did, prior to that, maybe people might have thought they were a lot more aggressive than they really should have been, and maybe this is now a reflection that, hey, I'm not willing to see this happen. Not to toot our horn, but they should probably consult with a certified financial planner, somebody that will help them and guide them along the way. And one of the strongest things that we've been able to do is hold people's hands through not only this crisis, but 2008 and 2009. And most Gen Xers, quite frankly, have dealt with at least 2 or 3 catastrophes in our earning years. I mean, we had the tech wreck in 2000, then we had a recession in 2003, then we had 2008, and then just when everything's good, now we have 2020. So it's been a challenge for a lot of Gen Xers.
And this too shall pass, right?
Absolutely.
Are there any other tips or words of wisdom that you would like to share with Gen Xers in regards to investing in their financial future?
Develop a strategy, stick to that strategy. Do not let emotions get the best of you. I know it's difficult. Sometimes it's best to just turn off the TV.
Thank you so much, Ellyn, certified financial planner, helping us all invest GenXtra. For Gen Xers, now is the time to plan for the future and the unexpected if you haven't already. Joining me now is attorney Bridget Friedman, who helps clients create estate plans and helps settle those estate plans upon death. Bridget, thank you so much for joining us. So first of all, let's talk about the essential elements of a good estate plan.
So the essential elements of an estate plan really consist of 4 documents, sometimes a 5th, but for most people 4 apply. One is the will, also called the last will and testament, the power of attorney, the healthcare surrogate, and the living will. The 5th document that sometimes applies might be a living trust or even a testamentary trust. As far as the last will and testament goes, this document only applies after you die. So of course we're looking at things whether or not you can touch these things, or if you own real estate or any other item like a car, you might have accounts like a bank account, a retirement account. Sometimes if those assets end up coming through probate, then your will would apply after you die.
And are there any things that we need to be mindful of when putting inheritance in a will in terms of tax consequences and transfer of properties?
So right now the federal tax level is so high that it doesn't affect most people. It's over $11 million. So a lot of tax planning is not at issue at this point. If that tax law sunsets, then of course we're all going to be having a very different discussion. The other 3 documents are all applicable when you're alive. So the power of attorney that you mentioned earlier, that's a document that's executed to give someone the authority to make financial decisions for you. It used to be that that document applied only after you lost capacity, but the statute changed and now they are effective immediately. The other thing to keep in mind with a power of attorney is that unless the specific authority is listed in the document, the person you've granted the authority to can't take that action.
So what is a healthcare surrogate and the role it plays in an estate plan?
So the healthcare surrogate allows someone to make medical decisions for you in the event that you're unable to, and that's in contrast to the power of attorney, which allowed someone to make the financial decisions for you.
And a living will.
So the living will is a declaration that someone makes. They say that they do not want to be kept alive under certain circumstances. There are really 3 circumstances. 1, if you are in an end-stage condition. 2, if you're in a terminal state. Or 3, if you're in a persistent vegetative state. 2 doctors have to both agree that one of those conditions apply. One of them has to be your primary care physician and another objective physician that also agrees.
So share with us some tips for preparing to put together an estate plan.
So the first thing I would say is you've got to understand how the system works, because some people think that if you have a will, that it controls every asset that you own. And that is one of the major misconceptions that I run across. So the reason why people are confused is that they don't realize that if they have a beneficiary on one of their accounts, for example, a bank account, if you have a beneficiary, your beneficiary is going to receive the money in your bank account at your death. And your last will and testament is not going to control that asset.
Bridget, before we go, any other parting words of wisdom that you want to share with Gen Xers?
So I would say that it's never too early, it's never too late to estate plan. At any major life event, whether you get married, whether you get divorced, whether you have a child, whether a child dies or another family member dies that's in your estate plan, it's always a good time to revisit your estate plan with a legal professional just to make sure that your last wishes are carried out after you die.
Now, if you want to learn more about what Bridget does, check out her website below here on the screen and let them know that Karen from GenXtra sent you. I'm always on the lookout for products that make my life easier, and lately with all the downtime at home, I got to reorganize in my closet and discovered a great gadget. It's known as the Hormone Shoe Shaper, and what it does is it stretches the toe box of your shoe up to a half size larger. It's super easy to use. You simply insert the shoe shaper into your shoe, you press the button to expand the wings, and you set it and forget it overnight. In the morning, you've got a roomier, more comfortable toe box. Now, this is a women-owned business. To learn more, check out the website below. A lot of my girlfriends have been singing the praises of hormone replacement therapy as they approach the change of life, better known as menopause. To learn more about it, we're here at Advanced Women's Health. We're speaking with OBGYN Dr. David Goss, who specializes in hormone replacement therapy and a chip implant procedure that's very popular that will help us all feel GenXtra. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Goss.
Very nice to be here, Karen.
Dr. Goss, what is hormone replacement therapy and how does it work?
Well, Karen, when an infant girl is born, she has in her ovaries all the eggs she will ever have. No more eggs after birth. They're all there at the start. And then over 50 years or so, the number of those eggs gradually diminishes and gradually diminishes. And in the early 50s, in most women, the eggs are gone. The part of the ovary that is responsible for egg production is also responsible for what we commonly call the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So when the tissue that makes the eggs is gone, the tissue that makes your estrogen and progesterone is gone. And many women feel symptoms related to that drop of estrogen. And hormone replacement therapy is the idea of using some external source to put those hormones back in your body to help alleviate those symptoms you might be experiencing. This is an example of the pellet, so you can see the size. This is a fairly large pellet. This is a testosterone pellet. So if you're just getting estrogen, your pellet will be about that big again, if you want to see compared to my finger.
Why do we implant in the buttocks area as opposed to somewhere else?
It gives you a fair amount of fat tissue to bury the little implant into so it won't protrude or push back out through the skin. Then we numb things up a little bit, so Allie, you're going to feel a stingy sensation. You okay?
Yes.
The initial skin injection there tends to sting. Once that's done, the rest is fairly painless. It looks awful with a big needle going in there, but is that hurting a lot, Allie?
No.
No. Let me just make a small incision here. The incision is so small she won't require a stitch or anything. So this is the device that delivers the pellet. You see it has a little opening there so I can slide the pellet into it, as you'll see in a moment. We just kind of slide this in. And again, it may look like that's quite painful, but is that hurting, Ellyn?
Not at all.
No. So you see the two pellets are in there now, and this is just a little plunger. Plunge the pellet in. Move the levers. So now the pellets are in here.
And how often does she return to you to get the pellets replaced?
On average, it's about every 3 months, but for my patients, I tell them to return for symptoms. So say that after 4 months you're feeling great, I would not recommend coming back and getting another pellet just because it's time. Most people will notice the symptoms beginning to redevelop in 3 to 4 months. The pellet uses a compacted pellet of the hormone, highly concentrated, and it's inserted, as you saw, underneath the skin. By doing it that way, you provide a longer term of therapy. With a pill, you have to take the pill every day. Also, you bypass, by doing that type of therapy, the digestive system. And there's evidence that by bypassing the digestive system, the use of the hormone therapy becomes less risky. It avoids certain risks associated with oral ingestion of hormones. Remember, we talked about hormone replacement therapy. The situation with testosterone is a little different because the testosterone is not necessarily related to the egg-making process in the ovaries. Testosterone is produced by the non-egg-making portion of the ovaries, so you don't see the same abrupt decline with menopause that you do with respect to estrogen and progesterone, but there is a gradual decline with age. Also with estrogen, we try and replicate the kind of levels you would normally see in a younger woman. With testosterone, you actually elevate the levels a little above what you would see in an average female of that age group. But yes, the idea is we are replacing estrogen and we're more like supplementing testosterone.
Dr. Goss, thank you so much for answering all of our questions about hormone replacement therapy. Now, if you want to learn more about how you too can feel GenXtra, check out the website below. Well, joining me now is marriage and family therapist Wendy Crane to talk about these issues and provide some expert advice and insight. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks for having me.
So, Wendy, what are some of the lessons that we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic in regards to relationships?
It's really first acknowledging the reality of what everybody is living in. So once you can accept that this is a very unusual circumstance, this is not our normal everyday life, so it's going to put outside stressors on a relationship that don't normally show up in a day-to-day experience, and to be able to name it for what it is. So that's number one, that we don't want to react too quickly based on a circumstance that's happening. But the other side is that by having the pressure that comes from being together so much, relationship issues that were already there are going to come to the surface. So it's gonna bring people into a place where they have to start facing maybe things that they've swept under the rug, they haven't been dealing with, they've been in denial about, or even behaviors that have not really been being talked about, like addictions, communication issues, things that really didn't have to be dealt with when you have a lot of space, but seem to come to the surface when everybody is around each other all the time. One of the big things that I focused on with people a lot was future thinking, future-based thinking, which really fuels anxiety. Past thinking tends to fuel depression. So because we had so much unknown in the pandemic and people didn't know what to expect, so helping people really come back to their own internal compass, that you know what it is you need to be in the present moment right now. There is nothing else. We can't predict the future. We never can anyway. So how to create practices that help take care of you and your sort of internal state. And that helps how you interact in relationships, how you interact in the world, and certainly something we can carry forward.
Well, it's interesting because as humans, we're sort of a contradiction. We need to be together, but then we also need time apart. Yes. And therein lies the challenge, right?
Well, and that's such a huge part of healthy relationships, is that you find a balance between those two things, between closeness and separateness. And being able to communicate about when you need either one. So being able to find ways to creates space even in the same home. Like, you don't have to go outside the house to create space. You can set up individual workspaces in a house. You can each have your own individual time, something that my husband and I refer to as our own sanctuary time. I'm needing sanctuary time. I need to go do whatever that is for me. And having permission to do that, you know, in your relationships, knowing that, yes, we all need both. You know, it's great to be together, but we need to hold on to ourselves and have that space to be able to stay connected to that as well.
If we could say one positive thing about COVID-19 and the self-quarantine is it did force us to live in the moment and be totally present, because life became very simple.
Absolutely.
Very simple.
So simple. And that was a blessing of it for so many people who are so distracted most of the time. And also created this sense of gratitude. And that was another thing that I worked with a lot of clients on, was focusing on, okay, what do you have? What is here in your life? What is working, right? Because so many times we can get focused on what we don't have, the lack in our life, what's not working. So yeah, beautiful blessings really for many people came out of this.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing your expert advice and insight to help us all live and love GenXtra. Now, if you want to reach out to Wendy, you can click on the link below that takes you to her website and let Wendy know that Karen from GenXtra sent you. We are here at the Modernism Museum in Mount Dora, Florida, where I'm going to take you on a fascinating journey through one of the most definitive collections of art objects by the Memphis Group. Now, to understand this design movement, I'm going to take you back to the 1980s. Think about that decade. Big hair, loud clothing, neon colors, everything was outrageous and over the top, which set the scene for a group of designers who came together and created their own design language that broke almost every design rule. Joining me now is Stephen Coburn. He is with the Modernism Museum, and he's going to take us on a tour of this collection of art objects by the Memphis Group. But first, let's start with the name. Now, despite what people may think, the Memphis Group really wasn't from Memphis, right?
No, that's not true. Well, they were based out of Milan, Italy, but an important note is that they were an international group of artists from all over the world, based in Milan. And the name Memphis actually came from a Bob Dylan song, Stuck in Mobile with the Memphis Blues Again. The story goes that during the night when they were trying to come up with this name, trying so hard to come up with something so good, Ettore Satsas, the father of the Memphis Group, finally just said, let's call it Memphis.
The Memphis Group kind of grew out of a rebellion from the modernism and the minimalism that had dominated the decades prior.
Right, yeah. Memphis always divided opinions. Some people, especially in the established design world, really hated it. And then others, such as David Bowie, who is not just a pop icon, but an art collector and an art critic, a very keen eye for these things, absolutely loved this furniture.
The Modernism Museum has a significant part of David Bowie's own private collection of Memphis art objects. How did that come to be?
Well, everything here was acquired, like the rest of the objects in our museum, privately. The Bowie pieces were acquired at an auction in 2016.
All right, so we start our tour with this vignette. What are we sitting on?
This is the Lido sofa, it's called, by Michele De Lucchi. The couch that we're sitting on did belong to David Bowie. It was in his private collection, along with these side tables, actually, and this beautiful table over here, Continental. All of this furniture is by Italian designer Michele De Lucchi. So most of the items in this room were designed by a married couple, Natalie Dupasquier and George Souden. They were a design team, founding members of Memphis, and especially Dupasquier really worked on all the graphics and textiles for the Memphis Group. And then together with George Souden, they made a lot of iconic items, such as this table that we're sitting at, and as well as these chairs we're sitting on. This table is called a Madras table by Dupasquier, and these chairs are called the Palace chairs, also by George Souden. And these were also part of Bowie's private collection. This bed, and we call it a bed loosely, it's called the Tawaraya, and it's named after a famous Japanese hotel, again. This is from Memphis's debut collection, and this photograph we have up here actually shows the Memphis Group in 1981. This is a lot of the core designers, including Ettore Satsas and the gray mustache. Now, we call it a bed but that's again a loose term. This was designed by a Japanese artist, Matsumori Umeda, and this was designed with lots of purposes in mind.
So the table is from David Bowie's private collection of Memphis objects?
Yeah, that's right. It's called the Palm Spring table, and it belonged to Bowie.
So the chairs we have to point out, because the Memphis group objects really weren't mass produced except for this chair,
right.
Correct?
So these objects in the 1980s, when you could go buy them, you had to purchase them through a gallery of some sort or a dealer. It wasn't exactly attainable, not to mention very expensive. And as a consequence, a lot of these items were produced in very limited quantities, which makes them rare. But there is one exception to that, and that is these chairs. They were picked up by even a few restaurants, I think, during the 1980s, and they were the only real commercially successful Memphis item during the 1980s, and there were about 3,000 of them produced.
So this is probably the most recognizable piece from Memphis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. This is the Carlton bookcase. It was designed by Ettore Sottsass for Memphis, and it's so well known from, again, those photographs and publicity circulating, but this piece really encapsulates everything that Memphis is about. We have this out-of-this-world colors, of course, heavy use of this plastic laminate for mica.
And this piece was from David Bowie's private collection.
In a 2002 article, David Bowie wrote about his Carlton bookcase, and he described the feeling when you walk into a room with something like the Carlton bookcase, that it's a visceral reaction. That was the kind of feeling he got from this furniture and why he lived with it.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking us on a tour. It has been fun and fascinating. And for all of you, be sure to check out the Modernism Museum's website for upcoming dates on the latest exhibits.
This is roller skating, America's favorite fun sport, a wholesome year-round recreation, one of our truly great all-American participant sports.
I am super excited because in our Memories and Musings segment today, we are going to skate down memory lane at Cimarron Skateway. I'm going to put on these really cool glitter pink roller skates. I know all of you probably have fond memories of the roller rink from your childhood, birthday parties, couple skating. Well, we are about to meet the owner and skate instructor. His name is Tony Berger, and he's going to give me a skate lesson on these super fancy skates. And we're going to talk a little bit about the role that the roller rink played in our childhoods and its relevance today. So I had to tell you, roller skating was a big part of my childhood. It's where I could go hang out with my friends without the parents on a Friday night. What is it like today?
I would say it's like a time capsule because we have that group of adolescents that have that experience over and over and over. And it's the grandparents that did it with their children, and now we have the grandchildren, and it's just a wonderful place to be. And you watch children have that experience and learn that independence and that confidence, and we're proud to have an environment that they can do it.
How have you seen roller skating evolve with the times and pop culture?
Well, it has a long history, as you were saying, and back in the disco age, that's when roller skating really exploded in the US, and there were rinks in every city and they were packed. This rink opened in that era, and why it was so successful. And it's been, in cycles ever since. We're so lucky here because this rink has always kept a nice, steady business, whereas many rinks have closed. We watched the inline skates come into be, the rollerblading, which took it outside. Right. And now people are starting to come back into the quad skating.
So I remember from my childhood, the hokey pokey, couples dancing, a little disco. Do we still have those theme nights?
We still do.
And in your competitive skating days, tell me a little bit about what you did.
Well, I did all of the arts of competitive skating, figures, dance, freestyle, a little bit of free dance in pairs. I retired very young. I retired at the age of 19 and started coaching professionally. And I've taken kids from our Learn to Skate classes all the way to the World Championships multiple times and really enjoyed that.
All right, well, I am ready for you to give me a skating lesson. special request?
Absolutely.
We gotta do the hokey pokey.
All right, let's do it.
Tony, I gotta tell you, I worked up a sweat. You forget how athletic skating can be, right? It's a workout.
Absolutely. People that skate and do the hokey pokey don't realize how much of a workout it's getting. The whole body is getting a workout, but because the music's playing and it's so much fun, you don't even notice. We have people in their mid-80s that skate with us on a regular basis, and their posture and their health is so much better because they skate.
You know, I can really understand now some of the physiological and therapeutic benefits because I feel it in my quads, I feel it in my hip flexors, you know, all of the core stability required to really skate with good form, right?
Absolutely. Just keeping your balance works all your core muscles all at the same time.
And you know what I think I really love the most about skating? It's one of the few activities you can do in this crazy busy world where you're totally present.
Absolutely.
You're totally present. You feel the wind in your hair and you just feel free as you glide along.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes it so intoxicating.
So Tony, it's been so much fun skating down memory lane here at the roller rink. Thank you so much for having us.
It's been our pleasure to do this with you and to show everybody what skating can do for them.
Well, if you want to learn more about Cimarron Skateway and the Skate School, check out the website below. That's a wrap for this episode of GenXtra. Now for more memories, musings, and must-knows, follow us on Instagram. And if you have a story you'd like to share, contact us at genxtra.tv. I'll see you back here soon.